Good afternoon, curling fans. Just getting ready for the 82nd annual McKay-Douglas International Bonspiel to get underway here at Ardsley Curling Club in beautiful downtown, well, actually not quite in downtown Ardsley, New York. But we have the first, second, and third event finals coming up in just a moment. On our featured sheet, on sheet B, the center sheet, we have two Ardsley teams facing off. We have the team of Martin Sather, who is throwing fourth rocks. His lead is Bill Magliari. Throwing second is Bill Stopera. And throwing third is Andrew Stopera. And throwing the red rocks for Ardsley is Dan Tufaro as the skip. At lead, we have Tom Daly. Derek Kaiser is second. Dennis Mellerup is third. And throwing skip rocks will be Dan Tufaro. Over on sheet A is the second event final. And that's a matchup between Long Island Curling Club, skipped by Mike Greene, with Darius Jackson at lead, Andy McCown as second, Tom Lithgow as third, and Mike Greene throwing skip. And they will be playing a team from New Pond in Pennsylvania. Dan Dutt is the skip of that team. At lead there is Cody Karcher. Second is Greg Dooley. Vice is Sean Burcheski, and Dan Dutt throwing final rocks. And our third event final on sheet C is a matchup between Nutmeg, Matt Bertonica throwing the yellow rocks. At lead is Peter DeJong. Second is Scott Silverman. Vice is Chris Bonino, and Matt Bertonica will be throwing last. And they're playing a team from Ardsley Park throwing the red rocks. Their skip is George Shirk, and George's lead player is Andy Stedman. Second is Ward Doonan. His third is Link Hefner, and George Shirk will be throwing skip. And we are getting underway. Thanks for tuning in.
That was a fresh path on that side. Yep. Normal. Spin. Real hot. Spin. Hard. A little more. Real high. That's a pretty well used path. Yeah. I'd say just a touch more, and I'll just go ahead. Damn. Yeah, make sure it's close. Bill, go. Yeah. Come on, guys. All right, Bill. Get him close. Get on center line. Well. Okay. Yeah! We're ready! Here's the Coming down. Yeah, move it. Great. Thank you. Two. Number. Two. Didn't seem like it. 40 or 4-0? 3. Just tap in. What? Just here. 3.0. Don't make that one. Right there. Try to go. A little more eyes. Do I try to half tuck it though? Yeah. Well, I think we don't insure right because then he has the whole side of the draw. Hey, did you get that? Huh? You the white bar? I got it. But yeah, time it. Yeah. Wait for it, wait for it. Nothing. Not coming back.
Good afternoon from Ardsley Curling Club. You're watching the 82nd annual McKay-Douglas International Bonspiel. On the center sheet, we have two Ardsley teams. Throwing the Yellow Rocks is Martin Sather's team, and the Red Rocks is Dan Tufaro. Over on sheet A, we have Long Island. Mike Greene's team is throwing yellow against New Pond. Dan Dutt is throwing the Red Rocks. That's the second event final. And the third event final is over on sheet C, where the Yellow Rocks are thrown by Matt Bertonica from Nutmeg. And they're playing against Ardsley Park, George Shirk, throwing the Red Rocks. And we just concluded some of our medal presentations for our earlier games that were played here at Ardsley at 10 o'clock this morning. Those were the fourth, fifth, and sixth events. The winner of the fourth event was the New York Caledonian team, skipped by Mike Murphy with Gert Messing, Peter Austin, George Austin, and Peter Murphy. Peter Austin played in some earlier games, so the final game was played by Mike Murphy, Gert Messing, George Austin, and Peter Murphy. And they beat the Philadelphia Curling Club, who are the fourth event runners-up. And Philadelphia was skipped by Eric Sheets, and his team consisted of Kyle Conroy, Mike Rudd, and Miggy Gutierrez. Also at 10 o'clock, our fifth event winner was a combined team of Norwich and Ardsley, skipped by former Ardsley member John Peter. And his team was Dave Schroll at Vice, Jeff Klein was throwing second, and Dave Wagenheim was their lead. And they beat out the fifth event runner-up team from Long Island, with Tim Klein as skip, Tom Vespo his vice, Jack Glanzer as second, and Eric Romanizens, which I told him I would pronounce his name wrong, and I did a good job in doing that. They were the fifth event runners-up. And in our sixth event finals, also at 10 o'clock, the winner of that game was Steve Mojo, skipping from Cape Cod, with Rich Luzasorarian as vice, Dick O'Connor at second, and John Woods at lead. And they beat out also another combined team from Albany and Ardsley, skipped by Robert Howells, Matt Gallegos at vice, Nick Giraldi, and Roger Baker. So far, our featured game on sheet B, the first event finals, is still tied at 0-0 with a blank up. They just hung the score, wasn't paying attention to the second end. So it looks like Red, Dan Tufaro's team, picked up one stone in the second end after they blanked the first end. And this is Bill Malgieri throwing lead for Martin Sather's team, starting the third end. Bill Stavera is in the house calling the shots, and Andrew Stapera and Martin Sather are the sweepers. Andrew Stapera is one of our juniors who is heading off to the World Junior competition pretty shortly after recently sweeping the Junior Nationals about a month ago. On sheet A, Mike Greene's team is up 1-0 after one end. They're just finishing up their second end. And over on sheet C, Ardsley Park, George Shirk is up 3-0 over Nutmeg's Matt Bertonica. Derek Kaiser now throwing for Dan Tufaro's team. Looks like he's going to try to draw in behind that red guard. Just sitting just above the house. That yellow stone that's off to the left is also, it appears to be sitting just outside the house at the top of the 12-foot. Looks like Derek squeezes by that top guard and draws in nicely right to the, just to the back of the button. And Bill Tufaro taking off that guard, exposing that red stone. Tufaro's calling for a hit and roll on the yellow, which was tapped up just a little bit, so it looks like that yellow is now biting. Try to show you the overhead camera view. Looks like he's going to clip it. Hit the roll, probably a little bit too deep, a little bit off to the side there. And Martin Sather's just going to have Bill Tufaro take out that red. See if he's trying for a double here. Looks like they're probably a little too flat to try for the double. But he rolls to the 4-foot, sit right next to the red stone. Red stone is still shot rock. There's a rare miss by Andrews Tufaro through the uprights. Trying to come off that redstone and try to get the double. Looks like Dan's going to now protect that from happening again. Put something up in the top 12 foot. Looks like they'll make it to the top 12. Not sure if it's going to get over as far as he wants. Well, it's going to make it deeper than the top 12. Makes it to the back 12. Back top 12. Which I guess is the top 8. Tufaro takes out that guard that Tufaro just put in, but stone goes right through the two reds. Dennis Mellerup is Dan Tufaro's vice, advising him. So Martin Sather's first stone gets 2 reds out of there, but still leaves 2 counting with the yellow stone up in the top of the 12-foot. Dan Tufaro will have to protect this, otherwise Martin Sather probably go for a, well, for him, maybe an easy double. Red into red. For the rest of us, not so easy double. So Tufaro drawing down just to the back of the button. Of course, the triple's always there. Sather should be able to get at least 1 here. He would have to get rid of all 3 of those stones to get more than just 1 counting. And he does scatter all 3 of those to sit 2. So Martin Sather's team is now up 2-1 over Dan Tufaro after 3 ends of play. This is Bill Malgeri throwing lead for Martin Sather. Trying to put up a center line guard. Looks like it's a little bit heavy. Goes all the way to the back of the 4-foot circle. Dan Tufaro calling for a corner guard from his lead, Tom Daly. And Tom Daly puts that corner guard about where Dan asked for it. I think it's maybe about a foot higher off the house than Dan wanted. Algier's second stone on the center line, guarding that yellow stone at the back of the house. Don't think Tufaro is going to try to go through that port just yet. He'll leave that in the house for now. So Dan's calling for his lead, Tom Daly, to tap up that Yellowstone into the house. He can't take out that Yellowstone yet. That's still a free guard. Didn't quite do what he wanted it to do. And it replaced the yellow guard with a red guard that's now guarding the Yellowstone at the back of the 4-foot. A little bit better than it was before. And he tapped up the yellow into the other side of the 4-foot. Dennis Millerup. Dan Tufaro's vice. Just looking to get rid of that yellow at the yellow guard. Successfully peels that off, and shooter goes out as well. Warren Sather now sitting 4 in the house. Though Tufaro has the hammer. Say they're just tapping up to the 4-foot. Our other two sheets, A and C, are running a little bit of a slower game. Sheet C is about halfway through their 4th end, with Ardsley Park throwing the Redstones up 5-2 over Matt Bertonica of Nutmeg. Actually, Matt Bertonica has a team comprised of a couple of players from Ardsley, Chris Bonino and Scott Silverman. Matt Bertonica himself, who was a Nutmeg player, is now up in the northern reaches of Vermont and is currently playing out of a Canadian curling club. Looks like Tufaro draws down onto the two Yellowstones in the forefoot and rolls over to sit just at the top of the button.
I don't love throwing board. I don't love throwing board, so I like picking it. Top board? Yeah. Top board. It's a little lower, Bill. 5, 4, 3. 3. Yeah, make sure we're in. Make sure we're in.
Martin says with the last stone, he's going to come through that port, try to trip out that red. And winds up crashing into the yellow guard. Dan Tufaro's redstone is still sitting at the back of the button. He's still currently shot rock. Bunch of redstones behind him and surrounding him, but Dan now has his last rock, the hammer, to throw, and should be able to draw down to this and take 2. Okay, nice shot by Tufaro to pick up his 2 in the fourth end. And Tufaro now leads Sather's team 3-2. Sather will take back the hammer as we go into the fifth. A little bit of a light throw by Dan Tufaro's lead, Tom Daly. Had everybody but the lead sweeping on that one to get it into the center line. And he's just over the hog line by about 1.5 feet. Now Bill Malgieri throwing lead for Martin Sather. And over on sheet A, they completed their fourth end a couple stones ago. And Dan Dudt from New Pond picked up 2 stones to lead Mike Greene's team from Long Island 5-2.
Yeah, a little more. But we told him. Fine, it's good.
Pilster easily running back that yellow onto the yellow to take out the red sitting in the house. Warren Sather now sits 2. And Dennis Miller up, throwing his first stone for Dan Tufaro's team. Andrew Stupera throwing the third stones on Martin Sather's team.
Take that out, Dan.
Gonna just draw down to the 4 foot.
Down, wait.
Looks like that might have been a little bit heavy. Draws down to the very back of the house. A little hard to tell from the overhead whether that's in or out. You can see the white from behind the blue line, but the angle of the camera is probably a little bit deceiving, and if we were looking from directly over the top of that stone, that is probably a biter. Whether it will come in handy later, we'll have yet to see. Dennis Miller up second stone. Nicely placed just outside of the house. You can see that he's not quite biting at the top of the house. Martin Sather now using up a bunch of thinking time that we're not actually counting during these games. But if we were, he'd be using extra thinking time. Andrew Stupera. Very nice shot. Running back the yellow into his yellow. Takes out his yellow, but also rolls his one of his stones into the top 12. Just off to the left of the center, or a little bit more than left. We'll take this opportunity to tell you about our next upcoming event, the Ardsley Big Apple Bonspiel. Coming up in just about 4 weeks from now, March 22nd through 25th. It's an open format and a mix of men and women are acceptable. We have a few spots left. This will be our second annual Big Apple Bonspiel. Very enjoyable event last year. Hope to see a lot of new faces and a lot of people coming back for this year's event, March 22nd through 25th. Dan coming down that center hole through the pour. It looks like he's going to hit his red, which is actually not too bad of an outcome. Trying to come down and take out that yellow at the top of the 4-foot or just above the 4-foot. Winds up clearing out the yellow stone that Andrew Tufaro promoted to the 12-foot. Close game over on sheet A after 5 ends. Long Island picked up another 2 in the 5th end. And New Pond, Dan Dutt, is still leading after 5 ends, but now just by 1 rock difference, 5-4 over Long Island Mike Greene. Over in the 3rd event final on sheet C, they are in their 5th end, and not sure what the score was after the 4th end. They have not posted a score yet. Dan Tufaro coming right down to that yellow, slides right behind it to sit right behind the 4-foot. Martin Sather is still sitting shot rock with his yellow stone at the front of the 4-foot. Dan slid by that yellow by a hair, a little bit heavier. Now sitting number 2 rock. Martin will have to draw down either to that red rock for his 2. And sheet C just hung their score for the 4th end. And unless they're lying or joking, it looks like Ardsley Park throwing the red stones. George Shirk's team has a commanding lead over Matt Bertonica with a score of 9-2 after 4 ends. About halfway through, more than halfway through their 5th end. Looks like Martin Sather throws a little bit light. Picks up just 1 stone in the 5th end to tie the score. After 5 ends, Sather 4 and Dan Tufaro 4. Did I say 4? Correct that. That should be 3-3. Tufaro and Sather.
Down that middle line, we'll start to go. Right?
Kicks for here, kicks for here. Gotta be in the house. Just where is it? Greene. Yeah, go hard, just. We're supposed to be bad, right?
Yeah, roll. That don't work. Here you go. All right, Once out of this hack. No, actually, I don't have much at all. Be good. Not big, so. Want this? Yeah. Play it tight. Oh, yeah, right. Could be there. Not bad. Feel it? All right. You got to go here. Tap it in a little bit. Hard. Really hard. Let go. Yep. Gotta go. Whoa. Yep.
There's an update on the scores on our 3 sheets. Over on sheet A, they are in their 7th end. Over on sheet C, they are just about completing their 6th end. Depending on the outcome of this, with the disparity in scores, we could start seeing some handshakes pretty soon. But don't tell them I said that. Tufaro just peeling off that yellow stone of Sather's. Dan has the hammer in this end. Not going to leave anything for Martin Sather to score in the house and try to steal something if he can prevent it. Sounds like somebody's not hurrying hard enough on one of those sheets. I think Sather easily takes out Tufaro's red stone. He does get a roll right to the forefoot. Calling everybody down, except Tom. Probably trying to decide whether to blank this end and retain the hammer, or just do a hit and take out and sit for one. Looks like Dan has chosen to, well, either he chose to or he takes one in the 6th end to lead Martin Sather's team 4-3. Over on sheet C, George Shirk's last stop comes to rest in the 8-foot, and we have handshakes, and Ardsley Park wins the 3rd event final over Nutmeg Matt Bertonica's team with a score of 10-3. So it's Tom Daly throwing lead, his second stone for Dan Tufaro's team in the 7th end. Going to be able to get it all the way to the house. Doesn't look like it, but they're trying to draw behind their first red center line guard. Bill Malgeri throwing lead for Martin Sather. Bill Stopera throwing his first stone for Martin Sather. Try to draw behind those red guards. Comes up a little short of the house. Puts up a center line guard. The lack of a team on that sheet C might be starting to have an effect on the way that the ice behaves. Got fewer warm bodies out there. Changes the ice conditions a little bit. Derek Kaiser throwing for Dan Tufaro. Line is looking good. Looks like stone might be a little... looks like weight is pretty good. I think they called it about 7, which should have been about a T-line. This comes up. It's actually now sitting second shot. Yellowstone over on the side of the... straddling the 8-foot and the 12-foot is currently Shot Rock.
Let's just roll around this one. Keep it in front of the line.
Over on sheet A, Mike Greene's Long Island team has picked up a point in the 7th end. It's now trailing Dan Dutt from New Pond, Pennsylvania, 7-5. Leeds have just thrown their first stones in the 8th end. Mike will have to steal 2 in this last end to tie the game. This New Pond team has played very well this weekend. Many of them have played together as juniors. Their second, Greg Dooley, is a member here at Ardsley. He's playing as a substitute for New Pond, one of their players who couldn't make it. But Greg has played with some of these other New Pond players during some of his college curling in the Boston area. Tufaro with a double run back there to dispatch Dan Tufaro's redstone in the center of the house. Over on sheet A, Dan Dutt is not really giving Mike Greene anything to play with, just taking out his yellow stones. Tufaro calling for a timeout on sheet B. Of course, we're not timing these games, so he can call for as many timeouts as he wants, and it doesn't really matter. Warren Sather, Andrew Tufaro, and Bill Tufaro discussing the shot that they want to play, and they're unfortunately right out of view, right underneath the middle of the dead spot in our cameras. They were also talking too quietly that we couldn't quite hear what they were saying. Yeah, just Tufaro places a stone at the edge of the 4-foot on sheet B. Over on sheet A, the new pawn device, Sean Bercheski, throwing a very heavy peel weight shot to take out a couple of the yellows over along the left side of the house, sending one across the house out through the back on the right side. There are no yellow stones in play. Mike Greene has 2 stones left. He's going to have to make both of these count and hope that New Pond makes a miss on one of the last 2 stones to go to a tie. In the event of a tie, we'll go to an extra end. And over on sheet A, the game is over with a heavy draw from Mike Greene, throws through the house, gets swept out the back of the house, and New Pond wins our second event final with a score of 7-5 over Mike Greene's Long Island team. Warren Sather and Andrew Tufaro sliding down to the other end of the ice to take a closer look at the shot that they want to play. Dan Tufaro has shot rock at the back of the button. 2 of Sather's stones are in the house. Andrew Tufaro throwing what looks like he's going to peel off that yellow stone. Or that's peel weight to take out, to do a run back and take out a bunch of yellow and red stones in between. Still leaves Dan Tufaro's red stone sitting at the back of the button, sitting as shot rock. This is Tufaro's first skip rock.
All right, we're at top of the house.
Guys, tight the line. Yep, cut the line. Line, Harper line. Harper line. Line, fine. Whoa. Heavy. Yep. Whoa. Whoa.
Little heavier than they wanted. Comes down to sit at the top of the button, tapping their other red stone to the back of the forefoot.
I don't know if I can get there.
So Martin Sather does have the hammer in this end.
Just wondering if I like run the red, the corner red, now. Well, I gotta make it. I mean, whatever I throw, I have to make perfectly. I think you try. And then you're playing the shot, and you're only using that one.
If Tufaro picks up a couple of stones in this, picks up a couple of points in this end, Sather would have the hammer coming back in the 8th. Might be hard for Sather to pick up more than 2 in the 8th end. On the other hand, if Sather picks up at least 1, then we'll be tied going into the 8th with Tufaro having the hammer.
Carve it! Yep, carve it! Oh, wrong line. Get this out.
So Martin Sather's first stone taps back the red stone and rolls out to the left side of the forefoot, leaving Tufaro's 2 red stones still out counting Sather's yellow. Dan Tufaro looks like he's going to be throwing down to the top of the button. Going to have to get in pretty close to those to keep Sather from taking more than 1. Doesn't want to leave it too high. He'll leave Sather a potential takeout and a take out a couple of stones to pick up possibly 2.
One more.
Lot more room, guys. Close, man. It's close. Still on the red. Derek, you can go. It's light. Here. Nope. Whoa. No. No double. Don't. Go, Derek. Right. Whoa.
A little heavy. Not too bad, actually. Comes to rest at the top of the button. Is a little bit exposed, so Martin Sather has a chance to potentially get rid of all 3 of those red stones on his last rock. If he does that, then Sather will take 3 yellow, be up by 2, but Tufaro will have the hammer coming back in the 8th. Even if Sather just takes out that 1 red stone that's at the top of the button, he'd have to hit and stick there, and he still won't be counting shot rock. He would give Tufaro 1. If Sather doesn't hit this right on, it potentially gives Dan Tufaro 3 red to give him a pretty big lead going into the 8th, but without the hammer. Thinking about drawing down from the right side and come and sit down inside the pocket between those 2 red stones. You'd have to push those apart, count 1.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how to give up 1. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I could throw forward at that and... Board, I think. That's not enough. I think it's edge of 4. Board, wait. Sure.
They are sweeping hard. It's going to hit something red. Looks like splits apart the reds. Dan Tufaro is at least one. Looks like they're kicking them away, so it's pretty well decided by the vices up there. I believe it's 2 reds for Dan Tufaro. Dan Tufaro is up 6-3 in the 8th end, but without the hammer. Tom Daly throwing peel weight on his first lead shot. Just throwing through the house. At this point, Dan Tufaro is not going to try to not keep anything in the house for Martin Sather. Try to keep it as clean as possible. Not give them any chance to hide behind any guards, take out any reds, or take out any yellows that he puts in play. Won't be able to take out this first one. Still up in the free guard area. But I think we can expect that Tom will throw pretty much the same as his second shot. Throw it to the left side of the house. Through. And once again, Tom Daly misses everything. As he wanted to. Dan can now start peeling off these yellows. And Derek Kaiser takes away the first yellow guard. Doesn't leave any reds in play. Bill Tufaro throwing second. And don't forget about the Big Apple Bonspiel coming up on March 22nd through the 25th. Still some available openings. It's an open format. Any combination of men and women are acceptable of any experience levels. Second annual Ardsley Big Apple Bonspiel coming up on March 22nd through the 25th. To register for that, visit us online at www.ardsleycurling.com and find our Bonspiel registration in the right side of the page under our event registration. Derek Kaiser with his second rock. Easily takes out another of the yellow rocks. So Bill will Bill Stapera throwing his second rock. Putting up a guard. Just replacing the guard that was taken away. Don't forget, the Big Apple Bonspiel. Bonspiel. Coming up on March 22nd through the 25th. An open format. All experience levels are welcome. Men and women format. Go to www.ardsleycurling.com for the Big Apple Bonspiel. Spiel. Hope that was a little bit more zazzy. First vice rock from Andrew Stapera in the 8-foot. Sitting right on the tee line. Dan Tufaro be taking something out. Peeling off that guard and rolling out his shooter as well. Bill Stapera tending the house, calling for Andrew to put a guard back up in front of the Yellowstone that he just placed in the house. This is Dan's first skip rock. Dennis Mellerup holding the broom for Dan. Gonna take off that yellow guard that Andrew Stapera just placed up at the top. Another nice peel by Dan Tufaro. It's going to be Martin Sather's first shot. He's got 2 stones left, 1 in the house. running out of opportunities here. This will need to be a zazzy shot. Martin throws a little bit light, hogs the stone, and we have handshakes. Dan Tufaro wins the first event finals in the 82nd annual McKay-Douglas International Bonspiel. And our final score, Dan Tufaro 6 over Martin Sather 3. Ardsley versus Ardsley in this 82nd annual McKay-Douglas International Bonspiel. But wait, it's not the last event of our season. Coming up in March, we have the second annual Ardsley Big Apple Bonspiel. It will be a zazzy good time, March 22nd through the 25th. Open format, still a few spots available. Enter as a team. If you don't have a full team, contact our Bonspiel coordinator and he will try to place you with some other folks who are looking to put teams together. From high atop Ardsley Tower, here at the Ardsley Curling Club, in beautiful downtown Ardsley in Westchester, New York. Thank you for watching the 82nd annual McKay-Douglas International Bonspiel. Have a good evening.